that one belief eliminated from your brain could change the course of your reality. Would you want that? It's not for everyone, only the brave. Those who want to own their life like the powerful leaders they were born to be. A pivotal moment can change everything. Now, here's the host of Crossroads to Awakening show, Wendy Paquette.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crossroads to Awakening show. I'm your host, Wendy Paquette, holographic mind reprogrammer, helping women stuck at a crossroads awaken to their true selves and change the world from where they stand. So I believe as a high-frequency human, you can see your life as a direct reflection of the programs that are etched into your brain, and it can be easily shifted when you see your truth for what it is. So if you want to access your true self, then you get to play with us here on the Crossroads to Awakening show, or come find me on Facebook, also at the Crossroads to Awakening show, and let's play together. So today we have a beautiful, beautiful topic. It's, are you living a multi-dimensional life? And what does that even mean, living a multi-dimensional life? And what does it look like? And can we shift our perspectives in order to see our life as that? So I'm going to invite in my beautiful guest. She is a fast friend that the universe connected me to in a moment when I was traveling to San Diego. And so I just had this instinct to put my phone on, find some kind of a show on YouTube, which I have never done before, to be honest, and pack to go to San Diego the next day. And what happened was I landed on, I may have put in a search of some form, I'm not 100% sure, but I landed on a show which was called Alice Eats the Apple. And I was like, oh, what's this? This sounds really interesting. And so as I clicked on it, she was interviewing a really, really interesting cat about some like funky stuff. I believe it was UFO things. And I was like, okay, let's listen to this. And as I got into her show, I was completely fascinated. Honestly, found myself staring into my phone and like listening to every word she was saying and they were saying, and not even packing. So it was hysterical that it went that way. But I was so enthralled by her show that I reached out and said hello. And basically wanted just to say, hey, girl, I love what you're up to. Keep doing what you're doing. It's so much fun. And it turned into the most beautiful friendship that I think I've created on a moment of discovery. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to welcome Kerry into the chat with me, or into the conversation, so that we can talk about what being multidimensional life looks like, because she is, and her bio states that she is a character of her own show. She's a mother of 3, a wife of 1, a seeker of truth, and a lover of all things that can be seen and unseen, the writer, director, and star of her own movie. And it's fun to think that somewhere in the multiverse, there are beings they're just doing their versions of eating popcorn and watching movies starring us. So she has an online show with a co-host that she calls the JoyRide Show, or once called the Metaphysical Moms. So today she's going to come on and we're just going to have a really super fun conversation about living a multi-dimensional life. So I'd like to welcome you, Kerry.
Yay! Hello there, Wendy. Thank you so much for having me.
Hello. Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. It feels really significant, considering when I did your show, it was the most fun that I think I've had in a really long time. And it was very pivotal in me allowing myself to talk about my story. So what I'm going to ask you is, why don't you tell us and our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you came into even understanding the topic of being a multidimensional person in this life, or living a multidimensional life.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it started when I was 4. No, I'm kidding. Life is crazy, and I think so many of us and so many people here that are with you right now probably already know all of this. I mean, this is, I don't know, we wake up one day and we look around and we say, is this it? Is this it? And that's actually, that's where I'm going to start. I was, I'd already kind of ticked the boxes. I had 3 amazing children, a great husband. I'd had a business. I was a designer. And I looked up and I thought, I'm blessed and I'm thankful. But is this it? is this all there is? Like, do I now wait for grandkids and an RV? And there's nothing wrong with any of that. But I kind of wondered where the passion was and what's next. It's sort of like when, at the end of all of the shows that we grew up with, and the woman meets the man and they get married, and that's where it ends. And no one ever kind of goes beyond that to tell you what's next. What other adventures can they go off into? And so it started me on this path, and I think I've always been on the path. I mean, I knew when my grandfather died, he came to me when I was 7. I've seen the guy with the bowler hat and the coat when I was probably 9 or 10. It's always been there. I had a great-great-grandmother that could heal and take things off your body, and so this bent of seeing the unseen has always been in the background. So forward, I'm 41, 42, and having these experiences of a little bit of doubt, maybe a little bit of depression, wondering what's next in life. And lo and behold, guess what? I ended up having cancer, just a tiny little dot, and that in itself is really interesting. And I won't go off into that, but basically it catapulted me into the next place in my life. And I think that was actually a jumping off point. I could have left at that point. And, and they found it. It was melanoma. I got it before it spread. Yay. And I just remember one night I was sitting in my tub and I told my guys, I said, okay, I'm ready. You put me on this planet to do something and I'm ready. And I said, I want a sign I'm not nuts. And I'm really big in signs. So the next morning I'm emptying out the dishwasher, putting the plates in the cabinet, and I look up and reflecting off my plates that I'd had for 20 years at this point, and in the cabinet that had been in my house, for 8 years, and I'd never seen this. It was a 4-sided pyramid with a perfect eye, with an iris, a pupil, perfect, sitting, reflecting on the back of my cabinet. And I'm looking at this and it's like, and other people with me saw it, and I looked it up and it said communication with spirit. I'm like, okay, there it is. And from that minute on, my life just sort of exploded. And I met amazing people. I decided to come out of the quote closet, and I told people that I saw dead people sometimes, and turns out I had a whole tribe around me that I had no idea because I'd never been honest, And and then one morning, 4 a.m., some reason the guys love to wake you up at 4 a.m., I woke up and it's like, podcasting. We need a podcast, because I had these 2 girlfriends that came to me during that time. One was a room mom in my son's class, and another one was her good friend, who it turns out she and I went to high school together. We just didn't realize that because, this was decades after. And we would get together and we'd bead and we'd run energy and we'd talk about Bashar or, law of attraction, guides, all this different stuff. And so I thought, podcasting, we should podcast. But what do I know about podcasting? I know nothing, and I'm a mom of 3 young kids, and the bandwidth isn't really at that point very, very broad. And so it kind of went by the side. And 2 months after that, Tiffanie, one of my girlfriends, called and said she used to work at this rock station here in town, like back in 93, 92. And they called her and they said, hey, we're starting this online thing. Do you guys want a show? It's like, okay. And so that's how it started. And we've never looked back. Not really.
Wow. So I love, there's always a catalyst, right, of asking. That's one thing I know for sure. That happened to me in my reality, right? When I made the demand of ask, I came from the truest space of an ask that I was just ready and willing to let everything else go in order to receive whatever it was that I got to receive in that moment. So it sounds like you had a very similar experience, right? So
yes.
Tell me, I'm kind of stuck on this space. What did you see on the plate? You said you were opening the cupboard and you saw something on a plate. Can you tell me more about what that is? What are you talking about there?
Yes, it is a reflection. So I have these plates that I've had forever, and you probably have eaten off of them in restaurants, just these bright colored plates. And they were, I was stacking them the way you do. And I look down, I look up, and here, reflecting off of one of the lights behind us, the light just would shine into the cabinet, and it would create a reflection on the back of the wall. And it was this beautiful, I think it's like six-sided. And it's just this holographic, it looks very 3D image. And it changes. And people, you could be at my house and not see it one day. The next day it will actually be there. So it changes back and forth, and it has different, I don't know. It's just really weird. And I can send you those if you'd like to post them, because it's really cool. And some of them look like little spaceships. Some of them look like, I don't know, they're just interesting. And I believe it's a holographic communication.
Awesome. Yeah. You know what? If you send me the photos, I will post them on my site with your show, right, for the show notes. Okay. What I'll do actually is when people go to my website and there's a box at the top. We're just getting it kind of tweaked right now, but when they log into that to come to the show, I will have in there an opportunity for them to receive show notes, and anything that happens during the show, all the fun stuff is I'm going to send out show notes. So I'll include the photos that you're going to send me so that they can see exactly what you're talking about. So you're saying when you saw the holographic light figure as a reflection off the plates in your cupboard, you knew that was something more than just a reflection. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, whether they had always been there and I wasn't at the space to actually see it, I don't know. I've often thought about that. Like if I just kind of moved to a space of being able to see,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that must have had some interesting changes in your reality. Like once you see that and that kind of like the light bulb goes on and you go, gosh, what does this mean? Like something shifted, right? Does that resonate at all with something that might have happened in that moment?
Yes, absolutely. And I have learned to ask. I have learned to ask for signs, and I've learned to ask, like, for example, I had a fella reach out to me last spring and to tell me that he had learned how to take craft, like he can take film of craft in the sky during the day. And so he taught me how to do it, and I've actually had him on the show. He's just this interesting guy. And so one day I thought, is this real? I have this thing, and it's dialed up way too high, of wanting to make sure I stay grounded, and I want to kind of keep both feet firmly planted. So I often ask, is this real? And the next morning, and I asked for a sign, and the next morning on my head were these white dots on my forehead. And that's another one. And it's like, okay, there it is. I don't know if they'd been there and I didn't see them. I'm not sure how I wouldn't have seen them. I look at them, I put on my cream and wash my face, but the next day I saw these white dots. And so just ask and they'll show you, but be open to how that comes, because it comes in many different ways.
Yeah, so there's so much more to this conversation than what it's actually sounding like. So what we're leaning into now is what I know of Kerry is that she's had some experiences that have caused her to realize there's more to this singular world, this black and white physical reality that meets the eye. And so when you open yourself up to the possibility that there's something else, you can actually be exposed to a whole new world that we call, and she calls, multidimensional. And it will allow you to ask for signs and actually receive them. And they come in ways that we never expect them to come. And it really is the true ask. You're sending out this energetic rocket of possibility within a question that says, hey, if there's more, like, show me somehow in my reality, my physical reality, that there is more. And then you get to be the open channel, the open person to notice what else is out there. So this is really an interesting thing that everyone can actually adopt. They can actually decide that there is more to this life because they want more of themselves, of the reality, of this, this complete experience we're living. and then ask for signs just for that small step into something that's infinite. So we're just going to go right now to our first break. You're listening to Crossroads to Awakening with Wendy. When we come back, we're going to talk to Kerry more about what this actually means for you, for me, and for her in this reality. So we will be right back.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the Crossroads to Awakening.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
Okay.
This is Crossroads to Awakening radio show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the program.
I think I do that every time. I always want to talk before. I get so excited about what's happening. So welcome back, everyone. I'm Wendy Paquette, and you're listening to Crossroads to Awakening show. And we're speaking on, are you living a multi-dimensional life? And with my special guest, Kerry Walker. So right in this moment, we were talking about having the opportunity to have choice, where we can ask for signs that there's more than what we actually see with our eyes in this reality, and that just that mere, from my understanding and my experience, just the mere asking of that connection, that support, that possibility, leaving yourself open to receiving a sign, that can change your entire life, because you've never been open to it before, and you didn't think there was anything else, and you kind of thought you were alone in your journey. You suddenly become awakened to infinite possibilities in an instant. So tell me more about what that looks like for you, Kerry. What got created when you realized that there was more for you?
Oh, magic. Absolute magic. I realize, everybody has their own story, and everybody has their own way that it unfolds, and it's so unique. And I think comparing to anybody else's story just doesn't work. You come to sing your own note, and so I think if you let go of what you believe things should be, quote should be, then you can experience anything you want to, anything that comes to you, you've drawn in. But I know that I needed to be grounded, and I needed to be grounded with children and husband, and I needed that life. And I believe that once I was firmly there in that space, then I could kind of let go and start my work that I came to do here at this time. And I think we are all here at a pivotal, incredibly magnificent time. And so what all happened? Everything happened. Just the people that came into my life. I found my tribe. And my tribe is always growing. And it's that there are so many of us here. And it's almost like when I decided to fly my freak flag, it allowed others to also. And anyway, so let's see. I've seen craft. I've communicated. I've met the channeling Eric crew. And I believe you and I have some friends in that group as well. I mean, it turns out there are a bunch of us that live here in Houston where I am. And I mean, it's just been amazing. I mean, life has just gone full speed ahead.
I'm going to interrupt you totally. Like, what do you mean? You say, like, listeners are listening. They're like, they're hearing you speak, but there's things in here that they're not, maybe they're wondering about. What do you mean you've seen craft and you've had communication? You get to really speak into what that looks like. Like, where did that even come from? The idea that that's even something that's possible. When you say craft, what do you mean?
Well, it is. I know I'm all over the place. There's a lot to cover. Well, I think that at some point when you begin to open up, you begin. I mean, I always thought UFOs. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Didn't really give it much thought. And then I had one person tell me, "Oh yeah, you've been on craft." I'm like, "Don't do that to me." I mean, freaked me out, scared me. I have no idea what you're talking about. And it is, I just kind of wasn't ready to go to that place yet of believing in little green men. And it's funny because at some point you reach this place where spiritual and all, life being, consciousness, other planets, aliens, UFOs, they all kind of start coming together. And so one night the first time I saw it, I was actually with Elisa and from channeling Eric, his mom, and Emma, who's a medium in Europe, and Kerry from the Silver Lining Show, and Tiffanie, my best friend. I mean, just there were a bunch of us, and we went to my parents' house outside of Austin, and we snuck onto, and Sarah, sorry, I have to mention her. We snuck onto a golf course, and it was at night. We were looking up at the stars, and we're watching things, and it's like, oh, what's that? We start seeing things in the sky, and things, these little dots that go across, and then they'll turn. So it wasn't quite like they were a satellite, and we're all laughing, and I said, you know what? I want it to come in like a shooting star. Sure enough, shoo, next one, it shot in like a star, and then it kept going, and it turned. And it's like, that's a craft. And so we all start laughing, and we're doing these sky watches. And anyway, so that was the first time, and I've seen those a couple of times since. And it is incredible, and it's magical when you start seeing these things. But, yeah. So.
Wow. Okay. So you said, okay, so I'm getting that. I'm hearing that, and that's possible. And I've actually caught some really interesting stuff on video, and obviously by accident, because I haven't actually. Well, I think I shared it with you. I didn't do it on purpose. It wasn't something I was going to look for to see. I always know that there's more multidimensional beings that are out there. It's infinite, what's possible as far as consciousness goes. However, I had some cool things on camera that I wasn't actually looking to capture, and it really kind of confirmed my curiosities about it. But doing it deliberately would be super, super fun. So you said now you've seen stuff. Yeah, that's really cool. What about with the communication part you saw? Like, we're talking into the shows, Are You Living a Multidimensional Life? And what I'm hearing you say is when we talk about multidimensional, this is when you start stepping into the allowance that this isn't the only dimension. 3D isn't the only dimension we're living in, right? It's multidimensional, even it's more, right? Okay, so let's lean into that piece and tell me more about what that means to you, and what does contact mean? Because you said that as well.
Well, okay, so where do you start? So multidimensional, there is. The veil, I believe, is getting thinner and thinner and thinner. There was a time when you needed gurus, shamans, people to show you the way. And I think there are those that just can remind us, and I think that's the space we're in now. But we are evolving to a place where the veil is getting very thin. So anyone who wants access has it. And I have never been scared. I can't say I've never seen. I had one lesson in and seeing something that scared me, and when you are not afraid of it, and when you tell it to go away, it goes away. I mean, and so that's been my experience. So I'm not, and I just want to say that playing with these things with heartfelt love intent, that is what you draw back. So that needs to be said. But it is, I know that I started hearing communication through my dreams, and I mean, some really cool things. And you know, we talk about, we talk about this, so I think everybody talks about this, which may not be the case, but this ascension process and where we're going and making a choice to go to the higher frequencies and live in that space, or not. I mean, it's all free will. It's all a choice, but we have help every step of the way. And when you have a foot in both worlds, because I'm human, I came to be human, and that's why I'm here. So I want to be here, and I want my feet firmly planted, but then to have access to all of this other information and healing, you know, people, when you hear that they spontaneously heal, or they get the answers they're looking for, or cabinet, you know, things talking to them through their cabinet, you know, all of that is multidimensional, and it is, and we have access, and we actually pop in and out of it all the time. You know, I mean, we're shifting timelines, we're shifting realities. I mean, you're the master at this. I don't know that I've ever spoken to you when you haven't just been, you know, flying high as a kite, and you always are. And so, so where do I start? I mean, where would you like me to start? I can tell you about the new earth that I've been to. It is, where would you like me to start? I need.
Well, yeah. Well, because the show is called Crossroads to Awakening, what that means to me, Kerry, so you have an idea of where we can speak into, is that people are at this crossroads where they want more. They know there's more. Mm-hmm. There must be more, because why would they be here? And for them, even to have that inkling that there is more for them, for their lives, for the possibilities, for their businesses, to me, that's their awakening into these multidimensional possibilities. So what that looks like is sometimes it's the eye-opening information that there are other beings, you know, in this realm. I say realm because I can't say on this planet, maybe on this planet in that way, but it's so otherworldly. There are other beings that can support us, but not just other beings. We're talking, you can include angels, guides, any, you know, people maybe that have passed on, any other energetic dimension that isn't in the physical reality right now. So waking up to knowing that you're not alone, that we are all one, and I've said this in prior shows where this is a holographic reality. So you come into this world as a embodied physical human, but that doesn't mean that you are outside of everything in the universe and the multiverse, because it's an infinite amount of universes. So we are everything, meaning we have access to all pieces of information, past, present, and future, because everything is now, the moment that you're in, called now, right? You have access to all those things. So the Crossroads to Awakening piece is, what is it that I get to hear right now that will cause me to open up to an infinite piece of myself where I can experience joy and peace and love without feeling like I'm doing something wrong, without the self-judgment piece of, clearly I'm doing something wrong because I don't feel that way now. So it's that gradual step into, gosh, you know there's more. And I mean, I hear all these things, and people who have listened to like Abraham Hicks and all that, they know that there's more out there. But it's really, how do I actualize that in my own life? So as we are walking into the next break, I'd like to just invite everyone listening to be in that space right now of just being open to something that's new, some piece of information that Kerry and I are speaking about that could land with you, that you can be like, okay, you know, I get to open myself up to this possibility and see what this might look like. Because what will happen energetically is that you'll receive in the things that you've been asking for. And they'll come in ways that you never expected them to, but it will keep unfurling and unveiling and opening up your world to new possibilities and your life to new possibilities. And I know, Kerry, you've said that your brush with cancer, with most people, that word indicates death. It just has. Most people think, oh my gosh, that's a death sentence. Sometimes you have to be forced into a position where you want to live so much that you choose something different. And to me, that different is the perspective that there's more than just what we see with our eyes and what we experience here physically in this reality. So I love everything that you're saying. Wow. It's such a beautiful space to be in. We're going to walk ourselves into our second break here, and on the way back, we're going to lean way into something even further out. Kerry, we'll go into the craziest things that have happened to you so that anyone listening, they can pick and choose what they want. We'll go way out there, so perhaps they can grab onto something new that will open up their whole world in a whole new way, because it's happened to you. You are a real human, and I trust you, and I know that your stories are real and true, and let's let them talk into that. So as we move into our new break right now, we will see you on the other side. This is the Crossroads to Awakening.
Beautiful.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the Crossroads to Awakening. This is Crossroads to Awakening radio show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Wendy Paquette, and this is Crossroads to Awakening, and we're going to go right back into the conversation with Kerry about the craziest things that have happened to her that have caused her awakening for herself, and dive into those super fun stories from that space. So just in case anyone listening would like to learn more about what I'm up to, you can go to my website, wendypaquette.com. And scroll to the bottom, you'll find yourself connecting with me in one of the forums on there. Reach out. Let's talk about what's happening in your reality. I am launching a brand new community membership where you can jump in and do work with me, learn what your own awakening looks like inside of this community, and walk along with others as we all experience it together. So you can really, truly step into what's possible for you inside there. So hop onto my website, wendypaquette.com, send me a message, and I will connect with you. We'll have a call, and you can hop in. Excuse me. So, Kerry, tell me, what is one of the wildest things that has ever happened to you since you chose to know that there's more in this reality than just what meets the eye?
Wow. Well, I feel compelled to say that embracing this has been a journey on its own. I'm married to an attorney who is an engineer background. I mean, it is, he looks at me a lot and says, okay, I mean, and it's interesting because we do get that a lot. People say, oh, my husband is not into this, or, my family's not into this. That's okay. They ground you. And that's what I've come to learn, is that those people ground you. It's one thing if people don't want you to go forward, but it's something else if they just say, you know what, you do you, and I'm right here, and you'll be okay. I actually love that. So embracing these things, I always go into the what if. What if this is true? What if I really did experience that? What does that mean? Because somehow that allows me the okay to go into it and not feel like I'm going around the bend. Because a lot of this stuff does. I mean, it does feel so otherworldly and so bizarre that you wonder, is this real? You know, did I just make this stuff up? And so anyway, so I feel like I really want to say that. One thing that I experienced, so after the diagnosis, I kind of went down this rabbit hole of why is it that so many people have cancer, and why is it? And I just started doing the why, which is the brain that I came in to this lifetime with. And I mean, I questioned at 11, I questioned the Baptist preacher that said you're not allowed to dance, and why? And the guy that said you can't see Rambo, I saw it, you shouldn't see it. It's like, why? And it's, you know, none of that made sense to me. And so where was I? I ended one night, I had discovered that I think food is a problem, our air quality is a problem. All of these systems that are in place seem to be outdated, and they seem to not serve, or they serve few. And this is, and it's sort of a dark hole that I went down in. And anyway, so pop back up, and one night I'm having this dream, and it was just the most vivid, lucid dream. And I've learned since then that these really are not dreams. And in this dream, I'm in Houston. We have hurricanes, and we're waiting for this storm. Everybody, the whole town is like holding its breath, waiting for this storm. And I get in the car with my husband and my 3 children, and we're driving, and I see this chip bag roll by, like potato chip bag roll by. And I say that because that's what I've learned, is that these details for me are indicators that these are not dreams. And all of a sudden, whatever was, quote, supposed to happen, which I didn't know up until this point, happened. And it felt like we did this flip off of a diving board. So we're driving in my dream in the car, and all of a sudden it's like we flipped into this new world. And it looked just like here, but it was clean, like really pristinely clean. And this woman, I always say she had short white hair, and she wore this long blue robe, and she approached us, and she asked me, she said, so you know where you are? And I said, no. And she said, well, you peeked behind the curtain, and we've decided to take some people off the earth, like out of there. And in the meantime, in my world, my children woke up. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. They woke up and they came running into our room, and my sweet husband said, you go back to sleep. I'll take the boys. So I went back to sleep, went right back into this dream, and she was still there, and she said, okay, and she showed me an earth with like dark ooze kind of cruising over it, and she said, so do you have any questions? I said, yes. Do I have a house? She's like, yes, you have a house. Weird first question. I said, okay. I said, does my husband have a job? She said, yes, but not, he's an IP attorney. She said, people don't steal ideas here, so his work will take on a different look. And she said, so, and she showed me, like, we seed the planet with these different ideas, inventions, cures, stuff. And so she showed me that's what he would be doing. And I said, did my so-and-so friend come? And she said, no, but eventually everybody will come. And so it was just really interesting. So, and I didn't know what to think of it. At the time, I thought it was a really weird dream. And my husband and I were watching, to give you an idea of what time frame this was, we were watching reality, on HBO, they had like whatever it was with the vampires. And it was about to come on, and there was an ad for the show Leftovers. I was like, that's my dream. That is exactly, like, these people just disappeared. And so I thought that was really interesting. And so last year I write to connect. That's how I can talk with my guides. And I was writing with my guides, and this is last year. So that would have probably been 4 or 5 years ago. So last year, I'm on a trip with my mom, and I'm flying somewhere, and I decide to write. And so I start writing, and they said, let's just go back. What if you actually did go at that time? And this is, you're projecting into a holographic reality. And so it was like, whoa, that's mind bending. And they kind of played things back, and they said, what if the rules don't really apply when you realize, like we come in as starseeds to help the planet or to do our work, and you're on the cosmic wheel. But then once you realize that you're not really a part of that, what if at that moment you really do realize you can heal yourself spontaneously, or you truly create the world you want to be in. And that's where I am now. It is phenomenal. So that was one really cool thing. As far as, I've had some really crazy things, like the man in the trench coat and the bowler hat. And I realized that he is just a watcher, and they're there to make sure that we're okay. And a lot of people have seen him. I've talked to several different people. A lot of folks have seen him. And I know I have more. We had a cool Mandela effect. My son was applying to school, and we had this report we had to turn in. Anyway, it's a long story, but we had a report. The report could not have been, it had to be newer than 3 years. And the report I had was 5 years old. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I was running out of time to submit this report for his testing. And I'm putting the folder all back together that I keep all the documents in. And I look down and I see the report, and it's dated last year. And it's like, wait a minute. And I look at this and I take it apart. I put it back. I think I called you. And I put it back together.
Yeah, you did.
And I'm looking at this, and it was last year. So I called my son in and I said, did we do the testing? I mean, this is like a big deal testing. It takes all day. Your teachers have to fill out stuff. It's a lot of money. And I don't remember doing it last year. And he said, Mom, that must be a Mandela effect. And it was just the weirdest thing. And I'm looking at it. It's right here. And so it is, there have been some really cool things that have happened. So there's a couple that come to mind.
You said something. Yeah, the stories are awesome, and I'm sure you could probably go on and on. Like, there's some really, I think things happen in people's realities that they don't realize are so different, right? So they just keep going about and go, oh, that was weird, but then they keep going. So part of having an awakening or allowing yourself to awaken to something new is, like you were saying earlier, details. Notice in your life when something is so different that it can't possibly make sense, instead of just dismissing it and going, oh, that was weird, and keep going. What if you stop for a second and notice, like, well, wait a second. Well, that didn't really add up. Like, something is really weird about that. And start noticing all the really cool things that are happening. That's part of what an awakening can look like. You said something that I'm going to put in the show notes so we can explain to people more, maybe put links to, but the mandala effect. Do you have some insight or a quick, description, I guess you'd say, or of what a Mandela effect is? And we'll put some of that in the show notes as well so people can look it up. But go ahead, share with us what it is.
Well, there are folks that this is their whole life, like Cynthia Sue Larson. That's all she does, and she's phenomenal. So check her out, her work, if that calls to you. We have timelines, and we're shifting timelines all the time. Multiverse. I mean, we are truly shifting timelines, and the way I like to put it is, it's like you have all these sets, these show sets, right? And this is what they showed me, and they're all ready to go. So let's say I decide to move to Austin. Well, that's a set ready to go, like a sound stage ready to go, but the lights aren't turned on. Or maybe I decide I want to move to Australia. Well, that's another one, and it just hasn't. Because think about this. If you, depending on what school you go to, you meet all different friends, maybe date different people, and it just takes you down a different path. So all of these different paths are actually in play somewhere. And so Mandela effect, some of the obvious ones, I mean, they have these examples. Like I remembered it, I watched it every Sunday night, Sex in the City. But if you look it up, it says Sex and the City. And it was never Sex and the City, ever. And so, but what happens is once you switch that timeline, it's not there anymore. I mean, like you can't find it. You can't find the old one. So, yeah. And so there was one, the Bernstein Bears versus the Berenstein Bears. I remembered it as the Bernstein Bears. I mean, we read it all the time. And so it's a collective, and where the term Mandela effect comes from is there is a very large group of folks that remembered that he passed away either in prison or right after. And in our world that we're currently he didn't, he went on, he became president. And so people thought, no, wait, I thought he died. And so there are all these collective experiences. And so that's why they call it the Mandela effect. It's where you jump timelines and things change. And so it's really cool.
Now so now I remember talking about this with my husband. We joke around about the Mandela effect when something's not where we put it. So it becomes like we just joke around it in a small way. But so that leans into the multidimensional life, meaning we are living in what we call this dimension now, or this timeline now. So what I'm hearing you say is that the Mandela effect basically identifies that your memory encompasses the same experience, but in slightly different ways. So that would be how I remember the Bernstein Bears as well. But if you look it up now, it's something different, like it's the Bernstein Bears. Same thing, right? So how could that possibly change? Unless somehow you chose a new timeline just by your mere choosing of something different. You're not actually going, you can, don't get me wrong. You can choose a new timeline when you get to the space where you understand how that works and you're choosing it for a purpose for yourself in a most beautiful way. But you're choosing a new timeline based on things that arrive in your world right now, where you have a choice and it could go either way. And it's interesting because if you sit back in that, if you really hear that every time that you have a choice to make, which is every moment of every day, you're actually choosing a new timeline. It is an infinite amount of timelines to choose. So imagine that you choose one that actually shifts how things line up factually, just like the Mandela experience. So I'll also most certainly put that in the show notes it's super fun to look up and also to start realizing in your world what that could actually look like. And we'll put in the reference that you gave for the Mandela effect, the experience that she teaches, how you can see it, how you can experience it. And we're actually right now going to go into our third and final break. And this is so exciting. I love talking about all this stuff. It's just everything goes so quick when you're having fun, right? And this is leaning right into all the things that I love about this reality right now and what it means to step into your awakening. So we will be back right after this break. Thank you so much for listening and staying on with us.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the Crossroads to Awakening. This is Crossroads to Awakening radio show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the program.
Yay! Welcome back, everyone, and welcome back, Kerry, and everyone listening. So, let's lean into more of what we were talking about the Mandela effect, because I believe that's just one way that you can open up your mind to what's possible in your own awakening, just to see that there's something different about what's actually happening. So let's take that into a new space of what can that look like when we're all craving something beautiful in this world, when we're all wanting that inner peace, outer peace, multiversal peace is how I put it, or feeling more love or more connection or more possibilities, just a world without famine or a world without war. What can that look like? What is your perspective on that, Kerry? How can we step into that space?
Well, I think that's an excellent question, and I think that we're doing that right now, and it's funny. I've been really quiet during this whole, right now, this has been recorded in the time of COVID, and I've actually, and I'm not discounting anyone going through a hardship, whether it's financial or they're sick or they've lost a person. So I really want to say that. But in my reality, I don't apologize for the fact that I am with my children. We're safe. This has been a reset. This has been this beautiful reset. And it is what, something just came to me when we were on our break, is part of being multi-dimensional is understanding that when you're out of it, when you're out of this reality. And let me give you an example. I think there are so many people, and this is where you come in your work, but there are so many people that live in this space of, I don't deserve, or I did these things when I was younger, therefore I don't deserve the good things, or I did this to that person, or this happened to me, or victim mindset, whatever you want to say, whatever negative spin you want to put on any of your actions, or why you might not deserve something, or someone has told you that before, that you don't deserve pretty things, nice people, nice friends. But when you pull yourself out of your avatar, which is who we are right here, when you pull yourself out of it and you say, oh, wait a minute, what if all of these different things I've been through, good, bad, whatever, however you want to term it, what if that was all just for my growth? What if those were the hard things that I was supposed to go through? What if it's, as Tiffanie says, what if we get so far away from the light to see if we can come back to it? What if that's all that was? Okay, now let me push play again and hop back into my avatar. And now what can I create now that I've let those things go? Because I understand that these, quote, bad things that happened to me that I've held onto and I've defined myself by were actually for my growth. But now I'm going to let them go, and I'm going to go create this world, this beautiful world. And I think that when we tune into TV and when we tune into the news, we tune into all of the programming around us, it is all there generating, we're not good enough. We're not good enough. They can't sell us something if we think we're good enough. We're good enough just as we are. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if that's the case and we're good enough just as we are, what can we create? What can we let go of and fly higher and create? I mean, that's one. Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question. That just really came through kind of loud and clear.
That's okay. Yeah. Honestly, it's taking what we know and giving ourselves that, instead of the 30,000 foot view, really looking at what we've been doing, what we've been up to in this reality now, and being okay. So speaking into this COVID space that we're in, we get to look at it for what are the gifts that we've been giving by being in here. And we're coming up to the end of the show here. And before I complete that statement, I want to say thank you for being here with us. And make sure you guys go find Kerry on her show, AliceEatsTheApple.com. It's incredible. It's a YouTube show. It's insanely amazing. You have to go check her out. But in finishing my statement is this. You get to take what you are looking at right now in your reality and know that it was all on purpose, and it was all to give you a different sight into what you really want. And how you know that is by connect into your heart space, connect into your beingness, sit with yourself for a moment and just experience like the gratitude that you have for actually being alive and being embodied, and see everything that has occurred in your reality as something that was for your purpose and for your shift and for your change, and allow yourself the awakening to step into something that you've always wanted. And what that could look like for the rest of the planet could be anything. Most beautiful experiences come from a space where we have and as Abraham Hicks would say, rocket of desire that launches from our heart space out into the multiverse and is attracting other things. So thank you so much for being here on Crossroads to Awakening. I really look forward to
Thank you for choosing to listen to the Crossroads to Awakening radio show. Wendy Paquette will return next Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We look forward to you joining us again. Until then, enjoy your journey, and we'll meet you at the Crossroads.